Hey, Masters! Welcome to another episode of the People of Eternia podcast. I'm your host, Tom Romero, and with me today is a special guest. He was the brand manager for Mattel, helped create Masters of the Universe Classics, and is currently the CEO of Spectre Creative. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Scott Neitlich. Hi, Scott.
Hi. Hey, Tom. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me again.
Of course. So we're here to talk about Netflix new show, Masters of the Universe Revelations. It was released July 23rd. Mixed reviews. And I just want to put out a couple of things. Spoilers. We're going to be talking a lot about, stuff that's already happened. And just please remember, whether you like it or hate it, if you love it, great. It's there for you. If you dislike it, just be respectful. Hopefully part 2 will be more of your liking. So at the core of Masters of the Universe, it's always been that you can make your own canon. You don't have to adhere to anybody else's canon. Part of MOTU was you can create your own adventures. You have all these wonderful characters. You could do whatever you like with them. So, Scott, I know on your YouTube channel, you've already given your review, but if you could just rehash it, what did you think of the show?
Oh, yeah, totally. You can see that on Spectre Creative on YouTube. You can just search for that. So, yes, spoiler warnings and all that. Darth Vader is Luke's father, okay? All right, so let's see. Crying game, she's a he or he's a she. Okay. I liked it. Honestly, I tried to go in as blank as possible. I just wanted to see what they were doing. For the record, I didn't care for the recent She-Ra series, as that, to the fact that I don't just like all, MOTU, He-Man stuff, She-Ra stuff put out there. Right. But I also went in knowing that, my pre-thoughts were, if anything, were just that this was a one-off show. It was 10 episodes. Originally, I was under the impression that it was a sequel to Filmation, and we'll probably get into that, why some of us thought that. But almost days before it aired, I learned correctly that it was not a sequel to Filmation for both legal and story-wise, and I understand why, also from working on the brand, why it can't be. And we can get into that. So knowing now that it was not a sequel, that it was just a standalone 10-episode, basically He-Man movie, more or less, just broken up into 10 episodes, I was like, all right, bring on more MOTU content. Let's check this out. And, for a He-Man story, for the first part, yeah, the animation was gorgeous. The music was great. The stories, it was very original. It was definitely a different take on the brand, but I'm all for that because one of the things I talk about in my Spectre Creative review on YouTube is, I view Masters of the Universe as a multiverse. Tim Seeley's the one who really put this out there in his DC comic book, He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse. And, it's not just, the lazy man's description that everything's a multiverse, Loki's a multiverse. Right. It's that you can't rectify things like the original 82 mini comics and Gwildor driving a pink Cadillac. There's no way those are the same thing. So you just have to think of the classics. Classics was not meant to be the be all end all continuity. It was meant to be its own thing. Granted, it was based on 2000X, which was based on Filmation. So previous versions inspire new versions, but there are things that happen in classics that contradict other things. The German radio player audio drama, contradicts Filmation. It's with that, background going into it, I was like, all right, cool. And there were a lot of surprises. Tila definitely took the lead in the first half. I hear that she won't be as much the lead in the second half, but I also, one of the things I said in my Spectre Creative review was, not only did I view it as a one-off, but in a way, it was kind of like a spin-off or almost like a what if. And
Right.
under that pretense, it's like, wow, that's like really cool. Okay, well, spoiler alert here, like He-Man gets killed in the first episode.
And the last.
And the last. And, well, sort of. I mean, does he get killed or does he just get more, only a flesh wound? So, I almost was like, what if Skeletor killed He-Man? Like, what would happen? Like, that's a cool concept for a story.
Right.
And one of the things I experienced being brand manager to Classics, which I also tried to push Classics forward, or push the brand forward. Like, the end goal of Classics was to get to the son of He-Man and the son of Skeletor, where He-Man's an old man and Skeletor's a ghost. And there was a lot of pushback on that too, because, it's like Garth said in Wayne's World, we are fans, we hate change, or we fear change. So it's the same thing. It's like every time, fans just want He-Man versus Skeletor. And if it's not He-Man versus Skeletor, whatever it is that's not bad is like bad.
Well, I think, and you mentioned on this before, I think it was marketed wrong. I don't believe that this is a continuation of Filmation, which is mistake number one on their part. I like the fact that you said it was a multiverse, and I'm totally fine with that. However, there's a lot of upset people. I mean, for me personally, I found a lot of problems with the story itself. The dialogue sounded too earthy, if that's a word. But, some of the characters actually just took me out of the whole story.
Yeah, like what did you think of it before I gave my...
Oh, yeah. So basically, like I said, the marketing was off. I enjoyed the first episode. It was exciting. I think it was a bit rushed, especially the way He-Man was interacting. I mean, right now, the whole universe is about to be destroyed. And I don't know, I keep thinking, where's Zodak? We lots and lots of Easter eggs, which is great. Although I believe that a lot of characters we've never seen before were just underused. You had the ceremony with Teela. She was about to become the new Man-at-Arms. That would have been a great opportunity to sneak in Ram Man or Manny Faces or Rio Blast or Extendar. So things like that. I know that's really a little bit of a nitpick, and I understand that, but I'm thinking they missed out on a great opportunity. Andra, as a character, she kind of took me out of the show, and I hope I'm not upsetting any females out there, but she was more like street level, not in that Eternia way. And then they were making fun of He-Man's dialogue. Like, he was like, "Oh, Skeletor, you're all wet." I mean, that's fun and stuff. But if this is a more adult take on Masters of the Universe, maybe they could have toned that down a little.
Well, see, I like how they said the reason He-Man talks like that is because he's just
a teenager, right?
It's like the Billy Batson kind of thing, which, right. Like, I get it. To me, the dialogue I really had issues with were like condom jokes and Catholic jokes.
Yeah.
They referred, there was like a glove of Gobular or something, which I think is just named producers of the show, if I caught that at the end. And Andra she says, "No glove, no love." Right. Like, are you effing kidding me? Like, what? You're making, and Triclops has his, cult of technology, which was cool.
That was an interesting take, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach, but like, they made Catholic jokes, like the holy sprocket, like I don't, that kind of took, and they made Star Wars quotes.
Oh, like, yeah. There was even times. Yeah, Teela even says a quote from Shakespeare.
What does she say? I might have missed that.
She adjusted it. Basically, it was, "Let's slip the dogs of war."
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yes. Richard III. So yeah, we all know that Shakespeare's best read in the original Klingon. So yeah, and it's like, throw in the bag of money. Sorry about the mess.
Right.
So that stuff kind of took me out of it. I'm kind of guilty of that too. Like in the mini comics, mini comic 5 or 6, when He-Man and She-Ra storm into Horde Prime's lair or like control center, He-Man goes, "It's over, Prime." And I was quoting Megatron from the Transformers movie, but it kind of worked a little bit more, maybe.
Right.
Like people might not have realized that I was quoting Transformers. I mean, because He-Man walking into a room and saying "It's over, Prime" could have worked just on that level.
Right. Now, as far as characterization, I felt it wasn't Teela. I mean, if she was this upset over Adam's secret, could you imagine what she's going to be like when she finds out the sorceress is her mother?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, I mean, like, let's talk about that for a second, because like between her reaction and Randor's was supposed to be the revelation,
right?
And was supposed to be the impetus behind, and it's like I got that they wanted to use that as the jumping point for the story, and I feel like it was rushed. Like if they wanted her and Randor to feel betrayed, they could have pulled that off better with something like the fact that, like Man-at-Arms had like deliberately kept this information.
Exactly.
I mean, it was it was there, but if it's going to be so much that Randor's going to scream at him and Teela's going to throw her tiara on the floor, it felt like just
an overreaction. Yeah,
like make it a real rationale for why you feel betrayed.
Exactly.
Lied to all these years, and I love that Marlena knew. That was awesome.
Yes.
Well done.
But that's another thing. Do you think they were giving away hints too fast? Like, oh, look, this is just like Filmation. Marlena knows. Duncan's about to announce that, or tell Teela that the sorceress is her mother. Like, are they letting all the tricks out of the bag, so to speak?
Yes and no. I mean, like, Marlena had to do that whole, like, be careful, my son thing when, in order to get the payoff that she was upset later. But that could have also played into Randor, because learning that, like, Man-at-Arms allowed Adam to be put in danger like this could have been part of, like, you let my son, like, carry around this giant and, like, fight the overlord of evil? Are you insane? He's 13. Like, I mean, I don't know how, 16, I don't know how old he's supposed to be. So, yeah, I mean, they played a lot of cards and very quickly. And compared to like some of the later episodes in the first run, like the Scareglow episode, there was like a lot of like unused screen time that it's like you almost could have stretched the first episode out into 2.
Right.
Like the way they rushed Game of Thrones at the end, like, or just why did it have to be 5 episodes? Make it 6 episodes, or make it 12 instead of 10 if you need that time to tell the story.
Now let me ask you this. So Castle Grayskull, the facade itself was just an illusion. Now in your mini comics, you actually blew up Castle Grayskull.
I did.
Does Mattel not like Castle Grayskull anymore, or?
No, I think it's like blowing up Asgard or blowing up the Razor Crest.
Okay.
That in order to move storylines forward, you have to take things away from the heroes. Like I love that Asgard got blown up. It was perfect because now Thor can go do other things. He can join the Guardians of the Galaxy, or he could go mope around and be drunk for 5 years. He couldn't do that if Asgard was still around. The Mandalorian had to lose the Razor Crest because that was symbolic of his life as a bounty hunter. And from what I'm extrapolating is that he has a hero's journey to go on. We're only at the very beginning of it, where he's going to wind up being like the savior of Mandalore. He's already now he has the magical weapon, the Darksaber. And losing the Razor Crest allows him to grow as a character. And in a lot of ways, we as pop culture fans, and I've done actually a few videos on this, some of them haven't gone live yet. We don't like it's not that we don't like our characters to change, but like we don't even let them. It's like we want Spider-Man to always be Peter Parker and to be, a 20-year-old or something, or we always want, Batman should be like 90 years old, or 80 plus 30, like he should be 120. I mean, it's like comic book characters and He-Man characters, they're all frozen in time. And what I liked about this was that it did something new. It wasn't just He-Man versus Skeletor. They blew up the castle. They killed He-Man. Other people died, like there were states.
Oh, yeah, Moss Man, yeah.
Yeah, like smells like pine. That was kind of cheesy. And like, although the worst line was when Skeletor's on their boat and he's like,
"Oh yeah,
he did granite or something." I'm like, what?
See, and that's another thing. Skeletor was portrayed as such a wimp. I mean, he was standing there. He-Man threw a fish guy, and he just, went up against the boat. And then there was another scene where they're outside of Grayskull. And I think it was the sorceress that hit him with something, and he just plops down. So I think he should have been more of a tough guy instead of always taking those cheap shots.
I'm really curious. Is he Keldor in this? Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't get the impression that he was.
Right.
So. Again, that's more fuel for the whole what if alternate universe thing. But yeah, I mean, the dialogue, like him saying, "Merman and I have an unholy alliance." Like, what the fuck? You would never say that. Like, what bad guy would, like, that's something good guys say about the bad guys. It's not the way bad guys describe themselves.
True. Now, here's something that really upset me. We finally get to see Hero in all his animated glory. And I mean, for lack of a better word, he was a buffoon.
He does nothing.
Seriously. He grabbed both swords and he literally did this. Why? I mean, like, I know they're trying to bring in humor for Marvel, but Hero he's a very valuable character. And how can I put this delicately? He was mistreated, in my opinion. He should have been more important. I mean, he was the first one to get the sword. I mean, but technically he was the first one. He gave it to King Grayskull.
Did they? I mean, that was classics. Did that happen?
Right. That's what I'm alluding to. But I don't. Maybe it was in this timeline that King Grayskull had it. But I mean, for Hero just to go like this, that was just, I don't know.
And they set him up earlier because someone said, like, the hero, like, he's like the,
right.
Grayskull might have been the first to use the sword, but Hero was like the best. He was the Michael Jordan of, sword thrusting or whatever.
It was cool though to see Bionatops in a animated form, and here's I'm going to give points to. I did love the concept that the Eternia playset is their heaven.
Yeah, that the whole Preternia being heaven and Subternia being hell. Like, again, this was something I talked about in my review as something like, yeah, that's like different, but it works.
Right.
Like, again, that totally contradicts classics, but it also completely reinforces the idea of a multiverse or a what if, which is how you should look at this. Because if you're looking at this, and we'll get into the whole marketing issue, as a sequel to Filmation or whatever, it's like there's just too many I mean, Roboto is a perfect example. In Filmation, Roboto came from outer space.
Right.
In this, he's Man-at-Arms Pinocchio, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's how he was in 2000X too.
Exactly.
So it's fine, but it's not. It's its own universe. It's its own story. And the biggest complaints people having about like the wokeness, and I'll just be blatant. I didn't get any of that from this. I mean, yeah, Tila had like a butch haircut,
right?
But her hissy fit kind of justified the fact that she wanted to do something different with herself, her destiny, her haircut, whatever. I don't know. I will absolutely say there has been content, in Star Wars. Star Wars has been gets absolute, the whole mansplaining. 100%. So I think everyone is so sensitive from Star Wars and Ghostbusters and even Charlie's Angels doing that that they now think anytime a story has a female lead, it's wokeness. And
Right.
that's not true. Like, Hunger Games wasn't, at least the first one, wasn't, it was a great female lead story. In fact, I actually did a video on this too on Spectre Creative. Hunger Games is the reason for all of this.
Star Wars, right.
All of it. Like, Hunger Games making so much money and basically being the first movie in a long time to have a very aspirational, strong female warrior that was not running around in a bikini, right? Was not there for sexual, like,
Right.
look, was just there to be badass or run this, make the story go forward. So Hollywood is like, oh my gosh, that works now. Every movie needs that, you know. So let's green light, you know, what was Allegiance or Alliance? Well, I can't even remember. There was like another young adult novel that was like a post-apocalyptic, but they only made like 2 of them because I know people are gonna whatever, but like that Rey is Katniss with a lightsaber. I mean, it's like the trickle effect from Katniss, but at the same time, not every female lead story is woke. And there's like having a female, like killing off He-Man and having Teela run with the story doesn't make it woke. It makes it different. You know, woke would have been if they go around like, I can do anything, like I can do things better than boys. Or, you know, men don't deserve to be the leaders. Only women do. Screw men.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Was there male bashing that I missed?
Well, that scene on the boat, I think that was, you know, when he's talking about, you know, you're all wet, Skeletor, you know, I think that was a little bit harsh. But that could have been chalked up to, you know, poor dialogue.
Okay. And let's just call that male bashing, right? Let's say it was. Okay. One incident, one joke in 5 episodes. Like,
right.
You know, Star Wars was constantly like, you know, Poe, you suck. I'm not going to tell you the plan because you have a penis. Like, that was ridiculous. I mean, it was blatantly ridiculous. And it's what, you know, or like that shot in Endgame when it's like, okay,
all the women,
over here like, no, battles don't work like that. Like, no, that took me out of the movie. That is wokeness.
Right.
Having Teela run with the story is just having to, I get that people say Masters of the Universe should be a He-Man centric brand. One, the last 5 episodes, from what I hear, are going to be very He-Man. And 2, if you want He-Man versus Skeletor, you got 130 episodes of Filmation to watch. This was something different.
That's
the
true.
problem was the marketing. Was that's what the problem was.
Right. That I wholeheartedly agree with. They should have never have said this was anything related to Filmation.
Or in any way a sequel to anything. Like, you know, because like then they try to twist it as like, oh, it's a sequel to like the general way the story worked in the 80s, whether it was your toys or your comics. They should have just called this an all-new original adventure.
Exactly. Exactly. Or a more mature adventure, because one of the cool things was especially that scene where Merman pops up years later. He's missing an eye. He looks like he's a gutted fish. That was an interesting take. The future of Beastman, you know, he's the same way, all cut up and stuff and protecting, you know, he's very loyal to Evil Lynn. I don't know where that came from, but.
Well, and again, another thing that doesn't make it a sequel.
Right. Exactly.
That relationship with shit. So it's like, if you take that out, the marketing, and say that this was just a adult or, you know, aimed at the adult collector who, you know, who's been a fan of the brand, but it's just a cool original story.
Right.
You know, I also said in my video, I would totally like that. You know, the concept of a spin-off has been around for decades. You know, Jody Loves Chachi, Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, all spun off of Happy Days.
Right.
You know, Frasier spun off of Cheers. Joey spun off of Friends. Well, okay, bad example, but this, you know, there's nothing wrong with the Teela show. Like, I would watch the Merman show. I would watch the Merry Adventures of Hero in Preternia. Like, there's a lot of spin-off shows that I would totally watch. So.
And I agree with that. I don't have a problem with that. The problem is, like you said, the overall story, the dialogue, how fast they needed to get rid of He-Man. You know, and just, here, let's take this guy, for example. Now, they did a scene where he was on Trala, And he was Orko the Great on Trala. I don't know why his powers didn't work in this timeline, you know? And again, like you said, if we're considering it as an alternate timeline, yeah, that might make sense. But I think a lot of people are still holding on to that, like you said, the marketing, as far as this being a Filmation continuation or spiritual, sequel.
Yeah, that it's amazing how if you take that out, all of the art about it like becomes very diluted. And then if you just, there were dialogue issues. I thought there were some voiceover issues. I thought that Buffy the Vampire Slayer's Tila didn't work as well. But some of the voiceovers did. I thought Mark Hamill as Skeletor worked until he started quoting Emperor Palpatine, and I was just like, wait, Luke Skywalker just quoted Emperor Palpatine. That's kind of okay, surreal.
Yeah. Stephen Root, believe it or not, as Cringer. I don't know what it is, and I know I'm alone on this because I put it out on Twitter, and the only person responded to was actually Mark Hamill. I thought his delivery of when he's talking to Tila about who named him and, Eternia is going to die, I thought that was a great performance. I don't know why I'm the only one, but I really think... Yeah, I thought Stephen Root delivered that line. And believe it or not, Krenger's lines were all very serious. It made sense to the story. Another one I enjoyed was Scareglow. Seeing him and his performance was really right on shot. But I'll be honest with you. My favorite one, Man-at-Arms. He brought a very sense of gravitas to the character. I feel. I've heard a lot of people saying that, they've basically, mailed it in, but I don't see it. I thought there was a lot of strong performances, and I'll be honest with you, Evil Lynn, I thought was the best one.
Just having, oh my gosh, I'm calling her Queen Cersei. Why am I blanking on the actress's name?
Lena Headey.
Lena Headey. I'm like, not Leia, Lena. Yes. Yeah. She really, she totally worked for Evil Lynn. I thought the stuff with her between her and Orko was really great. Like when they're, trapped in Subternia with, the whole Scareglow thing. You're basically, not that you're not, you meaning just people are nitpicking at this one, but I think that the marketing campaign just did such a horrible job that it opened the door for so many complaints that wouldn't exist if it was not for that. Like, right. What were they thinking? Like, I really want to know, you knew legally, you Mattel, it's like I'm talking to Rob David and Kevin or something, and I know, Rob David and Ted Pacelli from Netflix, I know both of them. I used to go to Rob David's kids' birthday parties. Ted and my wife and I used to go out with him and his husband to dinner all the time. I know these people. So it's they are people who know the brand, and I respect them. They were friends of, not that they're not friends now, but, I live across the country. They're not, I don't keep in touch with them as well. But, why would you ever call, legally you can't call this a Filmation sequel because of the whole Universal ownership. And boy, there you go. There's more proof, hello internet, that I've been telling people about Universal owning this, and people are like, Toy Guru is totally wrong. No way. I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. I was right. I'm not making this stuff up. What possible motivation would I have? So I kind of laugh about that. But yeah, it's they knew legally it can't be. They can't use the elements, the music, even references are kind of iffy.
Yeah, I noticed that because my wife's driving me crazy because every time I see it, I yell at the TV screen. So in the beginning, on that whole montage, 4 people know Adam's secret, including Krenger now. But it's Krenger's secret also. So I was like, that has to be a legal thing.
Yeah, or the way they redesigned Skeletor's hover robots,
right?
Or it's like that rule with Paramount and Bad Robot with Star Trek.
Okay,
it had to be 20% different. Literally, that was in the contract.
Right.
Are you aware of that whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it felt like. So there you go. By saying it's 4 people who know your secret, now it's
it's not legal, right?
And I mean, there were Easter eggs. Adam popping that bubble. I have the power. Like,
right.
Some of the Easter eggs were better than others. But yeah, like if they just didn't market it that way, so many of these complaints, like people, because they already are so angry from feeling betrayed by the marketing campaign, it just opens it up. It's like an open. And so now things like the voiceover or any other issues just becomes, I think, exponentially more because you've already dug yourself such a hole. Like, brings me back to the point. It's like, what were you guys thinking? Why would you do that? There's no benefit to that. None. Like, zero. The big bagel. Like, whatever.
Now, the transformation sequence was always a big thing with me watching Filmation. I love that whole montage of He-Man or Adam raising the sword, Castle Grayskull's in the background, all this energy is pouring on to him. Now, I found this online. Now, do you think that was also part of the like a legalese not to have something like this?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. Like they had to make sure the transformation was not the Filmation transformation.
I mean, I hate to say this, but it looked like Sailor Moon.
Yeah, I'm not that. I mean, I know who Sailor Moon is, but like, I don't think I've ever actually seen an episode of Sailor Moon. Like, I just know her.
Yeah, neither have I. I've seen clips of it. I think maybe my whole entire life I've seen one episode, but her transformation sequence is exactly the same.
So I'd have to like watch. Yeah. Maybe I'm sure it's on YouTube. So yeah, I keep hearing people say that. What they were obviously going for was they had to transform Adam in a way that was not Filmation.
Okay.
And which again makes so clear, again, internet, the fact that Universal owns He-Man and will own everything in 2023. Like, stop burying your heads in the sand and pretending that's not true. So doing things like having, the wrist guards pop on. The weirdest one for me was like the furry shorts, like growing like out from them. I was like, what? Right. I hate the symbol. I do. But again, it's another. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was the battle armor symbol, but like, I'm sorry, it has a red cross and it's not an iron cross. And, symbols, like, I'm really big and I love symbols. Like, the whole, I mean, the way even, Da Vinci Code or whatever talked about symbols and symbology. And it's like, they mean different things. I'm Jewish. I get that the Nazis used the Iron Cross, but so did the Vikings, and so did the Romans, and so did the Prussians in like the 1830s. Like, the swastika is a Buddhist symbol that the Nazis inverted for their own perverted means. So it's like symbols mean multiple things.
Right. But it's funny. Excuse me. It's funny you mentioned that because I was talking to Joe Amato. He was on the show a while ago, and I was the same way. I was like, it's He-Man. He was born with an Iron Cross. He should always have the Iron Cross. But then Joe mentioned something that really struck a nerve with me. He said, okay, take a board, put a giant S in red in a shield and a bat in front of a yellow background. Okay. Or a spider with some red webbing. He's like, that's Superman. That's Batman. That's Spider-Man. Okay. An Iron Cross means a lot of things to people. That battle armor symbol, people can associate that with He-Man. And I was like, boy, that makes sense to me.
All right, hold on. Because I've been fighting this fight for 15 years now. And I wish Joe was here. I know Joe, from going to PowerCon and stuff. All right. So here's my counter to that. Yes, you're right. That H could mean it could be, the S shield. The bat symbol and the S shield for Superman are absolutely two of the most recognizable icons on the planet.
Right.
Let it be Coca-Cola, 100%. Spider-Man symbol, a little bit. Green Lanterns. If you're a comic book nerd, you know what that means. Spider-Man symbol could just look like a spider. Fantastic Four, whatever. Here's the thing. The Thundercats have an amazing symbol. Right. Perfect. Works on shirts, works on patches, this was one of the things we used to discuss at Mattel, and one of the problems with the brand is it doesn't have an icon. And they struggled with this a lot. You see it especially in the like MOTU versus DC comic books, like that came out 5-10 years ago, like in the middle of classics. Like Rob David wrote a lot of those. Right. And he was literally tasked by his management to create a symbol for He-Man. And I get why. And like, which is why you saw like in those DC comics, sort of them trying out all these different H's.
Right.
And in the other Netflix show, the CGI one, He-Man has a symbol that's like an H and an M on his chest, right?
Right.
They're trying artificially to create a symbol after the fact.
Okay.
And while I get that, the train left the station, Joe Amato. Train left the station in 82. If he had that on his chest from day one, bam, you got a He-Man symbol.
Right.
It's too effing late. You cannot change that. I'm sorry. I get why you want to, and I get why on paper that works as creating a symbol that can be owned by He-Man, but it's too late. It's been 40 years. You cannot create a symbol for a superhero 40 years later and pretend it's always been their symbol. I'm sorry. You just can't do it. To me, it's like, no, embrace the damn Iron Cross. You're right. You put that and people may not know it's He-Man. So use the face of Castle Grayskull or use something else. One of the things that sucks about the brand 1,000% is it has no icon. It totally sucks that it has no icon. Thundercats has the best icon in toys. Better than G.I. Joe. Thundercats is amazing. The bat symbol, one of the best symbols on the planet. You know what? You can't have it all. He-Man don't got no symbol. So stop trying to pretend he does. Just accept the fact that it sucks and move on.
Well, here's something that, now that we're on talking about the symbol, if you really look at it, He-Man's the only half-naked one besides Skeletor on that show. Now, I'm not looking for nudity, but...
Merman's that kind of...
Yeah, that's true, too. But, okay, let's look at this. Okay, so he has the harness. If everybody's, like, in battle and stuff, why not draw him as battle armored He-Man?
See, yeah, if you had done battle armor He-Man and put the H on, I would have been totally fine with that. Because, like, the shirt you're wearing, like, that's the battle armor He-Man symbol. And that's fine. But putting that on the harness retroactively, because you're either trying to be politically correct or trying to create an icon for a character who doesn't have an icon. What's Silver Surfer's icon? Are you going to put a surfboard on his chest so that he has an icon? Like, not every character has an icon. Not every character has visual powers. He-Man happens to have one of the most iconic transformations in pop culture. Right. Like, whenever I'm clients, what I do at Spectra Creative, other than joining you for YouTube videos, is I help coach and consult with people who have new IP and want to turn it into things like toy lines. Right. And I work, and one of the things I say is build an icon in from day one, a bat symbol, and a visual transformation from Form A to Form B. Billy Bats into Shazam. Green Lantern is a great one, like especially in the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, where Jon Stewart just like the energy just like goes up his body and like he's now wearing the suit. Awesome. He-Man Filmation did it. They may not have an icon, but they damn got the best transformation in pop culture.
Yes, they did.
So why can't his icon be a silhouette of him going like this? Everyone knows what that means. Like, there's other ways of doing it. And, like, look at Michael Jordan, the whole, Air Jordan thing where he's like in this pose, like an icon doesn't have to be a bat symbol. And you have to think outside the box here. And I totally forgot how we got on this, but I'm ranting.
Oh, no, please do. So, okay, let's continue on with the marketing. So this is basically Mattel's way of selling toys. So let's take a look at the toys real quick. Do you think the toys should have been released earlier, prior to the show? Because a lot of people are looking for that stuff right now, and they're having a hard time. You see these pop-ups in Walmart right now, and there's no toys. So from a marketing perspective, because you're an expert in that, do you think they should have released the toys prior to the show?
Okay. there's a big difference between could have and or like, should have. Okay, go back. There's a difference between should have and could have. And let me explain. So let's go back to 2001 with 2000X, right? He-Man had been off the market for about 10 years.
Right.
And they made this big push to retail. That Masters of the Universe is back. It's going to be big with kids again. Sure, there might be some collectors, but we all know that doesn't count anyway because there's so few of them for any brand, despite what we all think. And blah, blah, blah. We have new entertainment, a brand new feature where, there's a chip in the guy's foot and it opens the castle. No one's ever seen that before. Ooh, action feature, brand new. Everyone's got to have a gimmick. So they can get placed at retail. Lo and behold, the brand totally bombs at retail because kids think a guy running around in a furry underwear is weird. And the only people who like 2000X are the adults. So great, not strong enough to keep the brand at retail. Brand dies. The last time He-Man was at retail, the action figures were packed with VHSs. Just think about that for a moment. Retail is very fickle. It's like the whole elephant never forgets, or what does Merman say? The sea never forgets.
Right.
So retail also never forgets. And when a brand performs poorly, retail is like, we're done, no more. So you don't get another chance for like 10, 15 years. And it better have like a major movie behind it if we're going to give you another shot. Right. So what I'm picturing is Mattel pitching to retail that they're bringing back MOTU. And the way they get Walmart, the world's biggest retailer, on board is, and things would have been so different if Toys R Us still existed. People don't realize that. Or they do, and it doesn't get enough say. So they basically tell Walmart, we're going to give you an exclusive window on the first MOTU line at retail, which is Origins. And then when the content comes out a year later, we'll transition into the new content style, and you'll also get a first to market window on that. So that's how Walmart agreed, because they knew that if somebody wanted a He-Man toy, they'll go to them and only them.
Okay.
That was sort of like, you want to talk about a unholy alliance. Not that Walmart or Mattel are unholy, but that's a perfect example of like that was the deal made, but it hurt the sales and the brand terribly, because with Origins, that meant Walmart got first to market. They placed their entire order against the first wave, which meant they got too much of wave 1. Mattel wants to go into production on wave 2 and 3. They're not allowed to sell it to anyone in the US because of the Walmart contract and window. So the only people they can sell it to are overseas. So that's why Canada and Europe gets tons of wave 2. Then by the time other retailers like Target can get it, the only thing that they can go into production on is what Target orders from an MOQ standpoint. And Target doesn't order enough to justify a full wave. They only order enough to justify 2 characters. So Mattel says, okay, well, since the order only justifies 2 characters, we'll give you the 2 most popular characters. And if kids had been into the brand, it would have sold. The problem with Origins is it's a total sofa bet brand. It's not a collector brand. It's not a kid brand. It's like this weird thing in the middle. So my interpretation has always been that Origins was a placeholder to get Revolutions and more so the CGI cartoon show product. Right. That's the golden apple. That's what should really sell, because the big sales are to kids. All of this is just a placeholder. If they could just hold those pegs for a year until the CGI show product is available. So the problem is that, like, yeah, they had no other choice but to give Walmart this exclusive window, because without Walmart, they would have never gotten an order big enough to justify production.
Okay.
Maybe they would have been smarter taking the Matty Collector route and selling Origins online only as a monthly subscription. Right. Because the only people buying Origins are really the adult collector. I mean, yeah, there's some kids have gotten it, but it's infants. It's so small. But the reason Origins isn't doing well at retail is because there's not enough collectors in the world to justify a retail line, or we would see retail lines for collectors being sold. The reason we don't is because there's not enough of us buying it. It's like this catch-22. So they put Origins out there to excite retailers, but the only retailer with a big capability was Walmart, and the only way to get Walmart to get on board was to give them an exclusive window. But by giving them an exclusive window, then the trickle-down effect was it screwed up distribution for a year and a half. And the brand manager who was on Origins has now left and probably gone to Barbie, because brand managers only last a year and a half. So they don't look at things long-term anyway. They just see the success they had at Walmart, and I'll let the next guy clean up the mess. And that vicious circle happens over and over and over again. And that's the problem is, they needed a movie. If they wanted to bring Masters of the Universe back to retail in a way that would really work, they needed a movie. And it's just unaffordable because a movie's going to cost, $1 billion. You got to spend $500,000 making it with CGI and $500,000 marketing it because no one's heard of He-Man because it's been 40 years. And that's why Sony can't get the movie made. And yet they're never going to release those rights because if they just keep green lighting scripts and then canceling the green light 6 months later, it extends their ownership over the live action rights. So it's like He-Man is in this vice of doom. It's just, and I'm watching almost with popcorn on the sidelines, being like, oh man, could you screw this up anymore?
Here, let's answer. Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead. No. I was done.
There's an echo.
Oh, okay.
There was an echo. So does Scott think the kids show will be more or less accepted by fans than Revelations?
It totally depends on the show. If it's well done, there's always the idea that there's not room for new kid shows is a fallacy. Look at Ben 10. That came out of nowhere and became ridiculously huge. So that's the best shot right now. Revelations is never going to be anything because you cannot sell a collector line at retail. There are not enough collectors to justify the sales for retail space. So it's always been about this kid line. It would have been better to have a movie to relaunch the line of retail, but if anything is going to work, it's going to be the CGI show.
Gotcha.
I hope it works.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it.
And then from M. Griffin, isn't the kids show under the same IP issues as Revelations?
Meaning that Universal owns it? What is it?
Possibly. Yeah,
basically, the reason you're seeing so much He-Man put out right now by Mattel is that, they have 3 years left on the license.
Right.
And so, people it's funny because I see people, on He-Man.org saying, well, why would they invest all of this to put out 2 shows and all this product if they're just going to lose the license in 2 years? Okay, well, let me flip that over.
They have to make as much money, right?
Well, if you had the rights to Star Wars for 2 years, wouldn't you do everything you could with that license?
That's true.
So it's the clock is ticking, but they have the rights to do whatever they want for the next 2.5 years, 3 years. So of course they're going to put out every possible thing they can. And if the license expires on them and they can't get it anymore, it's just like losing WWE or DC or Star Wars or any other license a toy company has and then doesn't have. But they have a window, so they're going to maximize it.
Right. And then this is something that has been rattling around in my head. So 2000X or the MYP show was actually almost 20 years or close to it. Are you afraid that we're, because of this separation amongst the fans or this great debate, do you think we'll have to wait another 20 years before we get another He-Man show?
If these bomb?
Yeah. Or let me ask you this, because this has been rattling in my head as well. Let's say nobody liked this show, or what's happening now, a majority of fans so far is disliking the show. Do you think Mattel's actually trying to sabotage in some way? Just to, maybe Universal doesn't want to use He-Man and they'll continue to license out He-Man to Mattel? I know it sounds ridiculous, but
it doesn't sound ridiculous. Sorry to cut you off, Tom.
No, that's fine.
It doesn't, because I used to get that all the time at Mattel, is like people coming up with these like grand conspiracy theories, that like I'm trying to do this, or Mattel is trying to do this, or Maddie Collette. Oh my God, like, no, nobody, like, the toy industry is not the mafia, okay? Like, it's not the X-File. Actually, like, there's no time to do that. The idea that any company would deliberately like spend millions of dollars on bad content to screw another studio, like, this is a publicly owned company with stockholders. Do you know how pissed the stockholders would be if they did that?
That's
like
true.
The short answer is no. Okay. And the long answer, it's just because like they didn't put out content hoping it would be bad. They put out content hoping it would be successful. Mm-hmm. What the mistake they made was the marketing, which trickled down to a lot of fans, being angry, and you can see that on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
There's no conspiracies. There's no grand like agenda. They're just trying to move the stock price. And you saw how perfect, how He-Man, both shows, Revelations and the CGI show, were sort of revealed first to the world in the stock presentation earlier this year.
Right.
Right? That shows you perfectly where the agenda is and what the most important thing is to Mattel. Pleasing the stockholders and showing them, look what we have that we're developing to try to make money so that our stock goes up and you get more dividends. That's it. If you're ever asking why does a company do something, the answer is always so the stock will go up.
Gotcha.
Every time.
Gotcha. And it meant selling toys, not toys in general. So let's take a look at Wave 2 real quick. Because
I didn't even know Wave 2 was revealed.
Yes, they did reveal them.
All right, what do we got? We got Man-at-Arms. Okay, he looks cool.
He does. Now, here's something, maybe you can answer this. Do you think we'll ever get something that looks like this as an action figure? Because this is... Oh, really? Okay. Because no, I'm glad you answered it. Because I was like, this would make a great action figure, but it could be just me then. How about something akin to this? Or is this just like... No? Okay.
If it was on Maddie Collector, 1,000% yes. If it's at retail, I mean, because even look what they did at convention. They just did one of their characters from the show.
Right.
Like they're taking, which is what Mattel honestly used to do before. Like when I came and sort of took over, not only was I doing Maddie Collector, but I really sort of took over Mattel's Comic-Con presence.
Right.
The year before, before I came along, really the items that went to Comic-Con were, and I can go like 10 minutes over the hour. I know we're getting close.
Okay, thanks.
Because my next meeting is until 5:15.
Okay.
They were basically selling, like slightly like She-Ra or Keldor, very great ideas for Comic-Con exclusives, but it was very high level of those characters. Versus then, look at like the kind of things that happened under my watch for Comic-Con. Just for MOTU, we were selling like Queen Marlena as an astronaut and Hero, and what else did we do for what are the other Comic-Con? Vicron, like because I would unless unless this line became like a subscription based Maddie Collector kind of thing, figure of the month, only sold online.
Gotcha.
Even retail exclusives are going to be like Faker, like it's a repaint with a new head,
Yeah, because
it's cool, but
they just released this gentleman right here, Scareglow. But get this, the only part of his body that glows is the head.
Really, the paint on the arms and the chest doesn't?
No.
Well, that's lame.
Yeah. I mean, he comes in a great box, but I mean, not as great as the King Grayskull box came in. I mean, it had sounds and stuff.
Perfect example. Like Scareglow is a main character on the show. I mean, he's got a whole episode dedicated to him as the villain.
Right.
And like, I get why he's their Comic-Con exclusive because he's very popular with the fans. I mean, like if you look on my Spectre Creative YouTube channel, I do a director's series going figure by figure in classics. There's plug number 4. And Scareglow is like one of the most watched videos, like by far of any.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like it's funny. I'll go back, like I'll look at that playlist just to see like which ones have been in. Like Scareglow has like 20-30% more views than almost any other figure. Like it's crazy. So Yeah, but they just took. It's not like they did like some crazy variant of Scareglow, or did an all glowing Scareglow, knowing that the regular one would be in the main line.
Gotcha.
They just took Scareglow.
Well, yeah, because there are rumors saying that Wave 3 or 4 will actually have a direct to market Scareglow.
Probably, like if I was, I'd want to maximize. Okay, we got Tila in her.
Sorry,
that's okay. I want to see. Yeah, I'm seeing these for the first time. This is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, so this is Tila with her
Yep.
Star Wars haircut, and then Spike Orr.
Real quick, why are people calling that a Star Wars haircut? Whose hair?
I think the new show, The High Republic, I believe it's 2 characters that have the same exact haircut.
Okay, got it. I'm not familiar with that at this point. I'm like, whose hair? Like, I've heard that because I'm like, that doesn't look like Rey or even like.
No, I think it's only in the comics right now or the extended universe. And so here's Spike Orr.
All right, cool.
And
Beastman. Okay.
Beastman. Now I like this I know a lot of people don't, but I like this. This is a aged, like grizzled Beastman, so I'm definitely picking him up.
And it looks like they've even gone a little bit happier with the deco too. Like,
yes.
The first wave looked really deco sparse.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, it's cool to see that these are characters from this show. They're not trying to be Filmation or Classics or 2000X. And if you're a fan of this show and you want to be able to collect the Masters of the universe in Revelations look, you can do that. That's cool.
Yeah, and here are the minis that were just announced.
Oh, they're doing minis too. We got Fisto.
Yep. Skelegod.
Beastman.
And you have Whiplash. And now Metallic Whiplash. I guess he must have drank from the cup of Triclops, and he's got like a eye thing.
Hey, if you can use the tool and modify it slightly, I mean, tools are freaking expensive. People still do a million times, and they just still don't believe you.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the animation. Powerhouse, in my opinion, did a great job. I wasn't too crazy about some of the CGI scenes. They just didn't look quite right, but
yeah, I thought the vehicles, like the Rotons and stuff, really stood out.
Right.
But like inside Castle Grayskull and that like forest thing was like beautiful.
Right.
I love that. Like that animation looked gorgeous.
Yes. I totally agree. I mean, the only nitpick though, I can't understand why they changed Orgo's eyes. I mean, it's starting to grow on me a little bit, but it's still like the first time I saw it, I thought it was Driel. I think I'm used to seeing this type of Orko, that lovable little scamp.
20% different.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's true.
That's all. He's also got that thing dangling from his hat.
Yeah. Well, he didn't. Yeah, that was later on when he got sick, but yeah.
20% different. There's probably honestly a legal clause that they had to make sure it was some percentage different. I mean, I'm quoting the Star Trek percentage, but
Right. So apparently part 2 will be either in December or January. And Kevin Smith has said if there is a possible season 2, it won't be out until at least 2023. So, no, that's fine. What would you like to see from the part 2?
Like if this universe continues?
Correct.
I would love to see like all those pre-Eternia characters like come to Eternia somehow and like do stuff. I'd love to see Zodak and some cosmic stuff. I'd love to see the Horde and or the Snake Men.
Yes. I'm dying to see an updated version of the Horde.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, again, if legally they can do that, there's issues. Like looking at my He-Man shelf to because I've got like my favorite figure. Where's Buzz-Off and Stratos?
No. I'm waiting for Ram Man. I want to see which way they go. Like 2000X Ram Man, Classics Ram Man, or old school Filmation Ram Man.
Yeah. Like what was with all the characters in the opening party scene where it was just like, we're going to put animal heads on everybody. Like,
yes. And then you have the one guy, I can't remember his species name.
Budapest, or the Plesians.
The Stinkor ones, correct.
Yeah. So like, why didn't they just do like Caligars and Andrenids and, other established species? Why is it like, oh,
Exactly.
we're going to give this guy a bunny head and this guy a wolf head? And like, they're all, going to stand upright like humans and not have like bunny proportions or something. Like, I don't know. It just made me laugh. Like, really? There's established stuff like you could do. This could have been a Tina scene. It could have been like, whoa, there's like, a buzz-off guy in there, and there's like one, a Gar, cyclone guy in there. And instead they just like do like, bunny dude and wolf dude and dog man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So I'm hoping that it gets better. I was really looking forward to this, and I was a little let down, but I'm optimistic for part 2 now. And a couple of quick notes I just want to add. So QMX now has the Masters of the Universe license. So we're going to start seeing some Q figs from them very soon, hopefully. Faking Filmation from our good friends Rob McCallum and James Etok is now on Indiegogo. So if you missed their Kickstarter and want to be a part of or get a DVD of the movie, you can now do it on Indiegogo. PowerCon is this September. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry to cut your announcements up, but they got through the legal issues with that whole faker thing?
I think that's what the movie's about.
Oh, it's about them fighting the cease and desist. Got it.
Possibly. I know we're going to see something come out of it. Yeah, but they're on Indiegogo, so if you missed it the first time around, you have an opportunity to join. PowerCon is this September 11th and 12th in Anaheim, California. It's a fantastic convention. If you love He-Man, I highly suggest you attend. And
this is going to be crazy.
Scott, where can people find you besides your Spectre Creative YouTube channel?
In your dreams every night. So spectrecreative.com is my company website. I'm the creative director where I help people with branding, retail development, product development, lots of different creative needs. I work with a team of fantastic people, including my partner has her master's degree in child play therapy from NYU. So what we offer clients is understanding the emotional connection between toy and consumer, or even product and consumer. I have clients that do beauty products. Check out Avocados, hair.com for an amazing beauty product, one of my clients. Always love to plug them. So spectrecreative.com, my YouTube channel. I am on Twitter a little, but pretty much YouTube is where I live on social media. And I'm always hanging out at the Starbucks in High Point on Main Street. So,
Here, one last quick question. This guy's been with us the whole time. So if someone else, Grayskull, comes in and saves the day, does it weaken He-Man as a brand lead? Like, I have the same problem with the Miles Morales Spider-Man. You have all these different He-Men, if you will, and does it take away from the actual character?
Like, does He-Man always have to be the guy who saves the day?
Exactly.
To make it a MOTU thing? That's an interesting question. And I mean, I don't know if there's a direct answer. It's like, if Robin saves the day or, Commissioner Gordon saves the day, is it no longer a Batman story? I mean, there's definitely fan expectation for that. I think that people are so used to that such a precedent has been set with He-Man as the lead. It would depend on the circumstances, how it's done.
So you're saying it's more of the situation more than the actual character?
In a way, it's like it depends how it's handled, what this particular story is trying to tell. But I think the biggest thing is we have to let go of the idea that there's one MOTU continuity out there, because there clearly isn't factually and legally, and just be open to, different interpretations of the characters, and like what you like, don't like what you don't like, and, expect the unexpected. Like, if there was a He-Man movie and He-Man didn't save the day, that would be different.
How so?
Because a movie is a different medium It's more of a giant popcorn stadium celebration of the IP. And it's got it. It's taking the brand to. I mean, I know there was the '87 movie, but it's taking it to a different. Movies are a very different type of content than TV. TV is more or less consumed at home by yourself. A movie, pre-COVID, whatever, is consumed with strangers sitting in the dark, staring at a flickering screen. I was a film major. There's whole theories about this, but it's a communal experience. And I think that if the movie didn't follow a templated concept of like filmation, that I would have an issue with too. But if a streaming show wants to be different, I mean, look, Marvel is doing a what if show, so there can be other interpretations of the brand. You can enjoy it or you can't. But I think with a movie, He-Man has to save the day. It has to be He-Man versus Skeletor at the end. Like I actually wrote a He-Man movie. It's on my channel. If you go to my channel and you search He-Man movie, you will see, and I basically walk through visuals of the 30-page treatment of what it would be. And like, to me, that's exactly, and it's been very positively received. Let's say that. I've gotten a lot of, people are like, wow, this was like, I would watch this. Why didn't they make this? So if you want to know what a He-Man movie should be like, and at least in my mind, I wrote it. So there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for being with us. I hope everyone enjoyed it, our presentation. Bottom line, I'm hoping part 2 gets better. I'm hoping, it's just, I don't want to see a divided fandom. I know, that's a lot to ask for, but I want to get everybody on the same page and, just happy to, all talk about He-Man one day. So thank you, Scott Neitlich, once again. People of Eternia is on all your major podcasting platforms. Please subscribe and give us a like and review. Thank you all for participating and who's ever watching. I'm Tom Romero.
And I'm Scott Neitlich.
Okay. Play with your toys. I know that's my toy lines one, but I'm still looking, folks. Take care.